Mm-mm, mm-mm. Hey everyone, it's Sullen Beauty, and Gypsy Rose Blanchard just did that podcast. It is a 2 hour long podcast. I'm going to start by uploading some clips, but I do want to upload the entire thing in full with commentary. So that's going to take me a while.
From what I understand, my uncle addressed um, all the things that my mom was doing at that point. He was like, "Why isn't Gypsy in school? You need to put her in school." Um, I really just don't think she's as sick as what you claim. She's perfectly fine. She plays with my kids, and he just put her on blast.
I see it. So what was your mother doing or claiming at that time?
Well, at the age of, 5, I was still seeing many doctors. The list of ailments was not as long as it was obviously later on in life. But
Let's see if Gypsy is going to mention her weight at 8 years old, like we see in this picture here. She was only 38 pounds, something like that, right off the top of my memory, in the third percentile. Every one of her symptoms are correlated back to her microdeletion. And the reason this is important, because in my opinion, that feeding tube was absolutely necessary. Let's see if she continues to say it wasn't.
I had supposedly a seizure disorder. Supposedly I had leukemia, hearing impaired, vision impaired, muscle weakness. So all of these things I was still and GI problems, gut problems. So
Again, all related to her microdeletion 1Q21.1.
I mean, as far as, my mother goes, she was supposed to be on medication. She was supposed to be
Okay.
on medication because she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
In all actuality, Gypsy, all that really means is that you yourself are genetically predisposed to having mental issues too. Bipolar and fictitious disorder imposed on another are two completely different things. She is admitting that she inherited a biological vulnerability to mental illness. And then if you stack the microdeletion on top of that, the probability goes even higher.
And I remember like there was a therapist that would come to the house, a counselor. And then when we moved from Louisiana to Missouri, she stopped seeing the therapist and she stopped being on medication. Um, I remember, growing up with a mom that said, "Do you hear that? I hear voices, telling me that there's 7 voices and 6 of them doesn't like me."
Okay, so now Dee Dee Blanchard was hearing voices. This is sick, y'all. And the fact that this dropped on the anniversary of the murder is sending me.
Do I see that? Like seeing things that aren't there, and I didn't see these things, so it kind of break my mom's heart when I would be like, "No, I don't see anything."
And what you're saying right now just furthermore proves, Gypsy, that you could have left. You are telling the public that Dee Dee Blanchard was in a constant state of psychosis.
And growing up, I didn't have a high self-esteem. Not because my mom didn't tell me I was pretty, but more so because I wasn't allowed to form my own identity, and feel confident in myself, discovering who I am.
I see it. I see it. And even on that point too, where you mentioned your mother, in essence, was isolating you,
Mhm.
right, from your father.
Mhm.
I've noticed that this is a standard.
Hey, dude, I don't know what your name is, but I don't think you have looked at the FOIA files. Okay. Dee Dee was not isolating Gypsy from Rod. Rod was isolating himself. And there was plenty of times where Dee Dee offered for Rod to come and get Gypsy for vacations, etc.
Maneuver of abusers
Mhm.
is the social isolation of of the person that they're targeting.
Yeah.
You mean kind of like how Gypsy isolates Ken? Then Gypsy goes in to talk about the essay with the grandfather and the bathtub story, and it matches pretty much what she has in her book. So I cut that out.
Other family members have called me a liar. They do not believe this at all because they're like, the tub was so small. How could 2 people fit in there? I was little. I was very little.
Well, at least she's admitting to being little, but nothing wrong there medically, right? Completely medically fine. And you want to know why the feeding tube is so relevant to me? Because without that procedure of placing the feeding tube, there's no other procedures left, really. She did not go under anesthesia for hundreds of times, and we have proved the feeding tube to be medically necessary. All that's left is the muscle biopsy and the saliva glands.
And, obviously having my grandfather expose himself like that, I was so little, I didn't think anything of it because I didn't know anything about sex or anything like that. But he found enjoyment in exposing himself to me. And then when I was 9, after a bad car accident happened with me and my mom, she was left in the hospital and somebody needed to take care of me. So my grandfather stepped in and I went to live with them for a short time. And this is where the majority of the abuse happened. And a lot of my family members are not speaking to me now because I have been so public about it. At around the age of 8 or so, went into the hospital for actually, you know what? I can't even remember what it was for, but I did a long time in the hospital. It was like a 6-month stint in the hospital.
Okay.
And that's when they put the feeding tube in.
And you can't recall how you got to the hospital?
My mom drove us, but I don't remember what the initial appointment was for.
Okay. But you ended up then going in for 6 months, which, I mean, that's significant.
Yeah, that's a long time.
And then she just pivots and goes into talking about the wheelchair. I don't know if they're going to bring up the feeding tube again or not, but I'm going to stop this video here. Now, I did tell you guys I'm going to try to upload the full interview over to my YT channel at Soul and Beauty. Watch it here, not there.
I knew that I could walk. I just want to make that clear. I knew that I could walk.